Thank you, Pascal, and the Secretariat for playing this some inspiring images, and many of the folks that you will see in that video are also in our conversation today. So with that, I'm going to quickly now turn it over for a more formal welcome and introduction from Paola Gioia. Go ahead, Paola.
Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Yeah, in name of the IPC, I would like to welcome all of you today to this event. My name is Paola Gioia. I come from Brazil and have been living in Germany over the past 20 years. I am a peasant farmer and also beekeeper in a collective community farm in the surrounds of Berlin. We produce vegetables, honey, cheese, wood, and we feed the local populations here in our region as well as households in the capital city. We are also organized in ABL, the German member organization of La Via Campesina. And finally, I'm one of the members of the facilitation committee of the IPC. It is really great to see so many faces today who have already been accompanying and supporting the IPC over the last year or two. And we are more than happy to see so many new faces joining us today, willing to be part of such an important and necessary process for a world in which solidarity, human rights, and respect towards our planet are common guiding principles. A world which understands the essentiality of small-scale food producers for the future of the planet, and which supports and protects these rural communities. The IPC, as the biggest autonomous and self-organized global platform of small-scale food producers, rural workers' organizations, indigenous peoples, grassroots and community-based social movements, was key to promote the food sovereignty agenda over the past 2 decades. It took the leadership in organizing the 2 previous Nyeleni fora. The first one, 2007, agreeing on our common understanding of food sovereignty and enriching its definition from our different constituencies. The second Nyeleni Forum, 2015, was an important space to discuss on how agroecology is actually food sovereignty put into practice and how to promote agroecology. The IPC also played a key role in the democratization of the United Nations Committee on World Food Security, the CFS, after the World Food Crisis 2008. The CFS is since then the foremost inclusive space in the United Nations to advance on policies related to food and agriculture. However, a space which is today under threat. The ongoing global multiple crisis, the changing environment in the United Nations democracy with its trend towards multi-stakeholderism and corporate capture, the increasing number of hungry and undernourished people worldwide, the increased repression of social movements and social movement leaders, the uprising of right-wing forces in almost all regions of the world, this and much more have shown the IPC the urgency for a new global Nyeleni global process in order to collectively and autonomously reflect and strategize how can we achieve food sovereignty in today's context, and how can food sovereignty provide answers to the current challenges. We need to come up with new strategies to face this new context, which has changed a lot since the 2000s. Other colleagues after me will deepen this reflection. The only element I would still like to add is that we are convinced that to make all this happen, we need to open up for other movements outside the food sovereignty bubble. We need to bring an intersectional analysis into this process. This is a novelty for this new edition of the Nyeleni process. We are reaching out to the climate movement. We are reaching out to feminist movements, to migrant organizations, to youth movements, and others. And we are also extremely pleasant to see that organizations like yours are willing to support such an ambitious and urgently necessary process. We need you. So welcome and thanks to be here and exchange with us during the next hour. Over to you, Jordan.
Many thanks, Paula, for this introduction. And yes, welcome everyone again. So we're gonna move all forward now with the agenda with a short analysis of the context in which our movements and communities are coming from and engaging in this Nyeleni process. And so for this, I'm going to turn it over to Perla Alvarez. Go ahead, Perla.
Muchas gracias, Jordan. Muchas gracias también a Paula por esta introducción y muchísimas gracias a todos, a todas por estar en este
all of
seminario.
you for being here at this webinar. Well, as we have very little time, I'll go straight to the subject. My name is Perla Alvarez from the Paraguayan Women's Farmers Association. We're part of La Via Campesina, as well as the regional members of IPC. I'm sure you all know that the indigenous peasant communities and other rural communities are very affected by a development model that intends to develop agriculture and livestock breeding without the participation of the people who live in that countryside. And this threatens the opportunities to produce a variety of food for the whole of humanity, for cities and for ourselves. So I'd like to say that the first people who are affected by that model of development and production are peasant communities, indigenous communities, and especially women in rural areas. The intensive use of toxic pesticides, GMOs, the loss of biodiversity, the loss of local varieties have meant that our production model has been affected by the introduction of technology that don't help us to conserve nature and our biodiversity. And that has a direct knock-on effect on our lives. As Paula was saying, the changing context at a world level, for example, when it comes to consumption, also affects us because it gives us different markets to access, and that in turn affects our health. So we're in a context in which food, which for indigenous and peasant communities, those of us who live on the land, are being affected by the fact that food is not only to keep our bodies alive, it's not just fuel, it's also our medicine. When woodland disappears, when huge swathes of natural land disappears on a world level, these are being overtaken by business and corporate interests. These companies have interests at a global level, and that's affecting our land. Companies such as mining companies or Monsanto or huge livestock companies that are using our land. This means that our lives in the countryside are impacted because and then the cities are impacted because it generates migration. People migrate to cities or they migrate to countries that are considered more developed. That happens a lot in my region, Latin America, but also in Africa and other parts of the world. Within those developed countries, considered more developed, but in the capitalist system, there's another effect on those people in the lives of people in the countryside. So this is why we're joining this new Nyeleni process with all of the elements that we are discussing here today. But we've also recently come out of a pandemic in which it was recognized that our method of producing food for all of humanity and for ourselves, people in the countryside and people in the cities, is still vital. And this alliance between the countryside and urban areas, we want to put forward what are the strategies in this context, given all the challenges we're facing, in order to progress towards this collective rights that we have established in Nyeleni 1. And how can we propose that from a position of food security? So this is our call for dialogue. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Perla, for this important perspective from the grassroots and showing the need for strong, cohesive action across territories to build our power in this direction towards food sovereignty. So now we're in terms of that, talking about those next steps and moving this work forward. I'm going to now turn it over to George Fernandez to give perspective from India. Go ahead, George.
So, thank you, Jordan, and thank you everybody for joining in this important event. My name is George Fernandez. I am from India, and I am the Secretary General of FIMARC, International Federation of Catholic Farmers and Rural People, and a facilitator of IPC. So I will be more the roadmap of this happening in India, and then the convergence will be happening in India in 2025. So Nyeleni is a call for paradigm shift that reclaims food systems as public commons for the well-being of people and the planet, based on the centrality of human rights. So it is indeed a space of resistance to neoliberalism, free market capitalism, destructive trade and investment, and as a space to build democratic food and economic systems and just and sustainable futures. So as it was highlighted by my colleague Paula, so this new edition of Nyeleni is unpacking the intersectional convergence. So we are going beyond the normal traditional work of food sovereignty movement. Rather, we wanted to build the alliance with the climate justice movements, labor, feminist, and environmental groups in this process. And IPC is calling for a new method and strategy in that regard during the whole process of the Nyeleni Third Forum. This multi-year process is a critical and huge undertaking that will involve democratic consultations in regions and territories in which the IPC is organized. The struggle for food sovereignty and climate justice is an intersectional systemic struggle. More and more movements are demanding radical system change. Food sovereignty and feminist economies winning wide-reaching changes for workers' rights and those of peasants and indigenous peoples. So we understand that the food sovereignty movement is not alone in facing these underlying systemic threats, thus making it imperative to converge with the people facing different forms of oppression and with them to agree on programs and strategies for social, racial, gender, economic, intergenerational, and environmental justice. the condition to be part of the process. The movements and organizations involved in this process must have a strategic vision for systemic change and social justice, and a combination between internationalism and people's sovereignty. Those organizations should be led by social movements and social organizations, not excluding NGOs and academics. So the organization must share the perspectives and the vision of IPC, especially with regards to feminism, equity, anti-colonialism, peace and anti-racism, democracy, movement-led initiatives, anti-extractivist mentalities, anti-colonialism, anti-debt, anti-imperialism, with equality, inclusivity, and diversity. Nyeleni is the territory and platform for our multi-sectoral governance process that implement a dialogue of knowledge based on heritage, patrimony, and diversity of people, culture, and struggles. And from Nyeleni process to the Nyeleni forum, what will be happening from now? What will be happening mainly from now onwards? So I just wanted to give an important element with regards to the important meeting that we had last year in September 2022 in Rome, that actually agreed the strategic lines of action to continue building the Nyeleni process and to reach out and building alliances among movements that are fighting the same battle against the corporate capture and reclaiming democracy. So a new global meeting is foreseen in June 2023, this year, where new alliance from outside the food sovereignty movement will be invited to join an international steering committee, which together with IPC will pave the way to regional consultations. The IPC will organize then regional consultation in the Americas, Europe, Central Asia, Africa, Middle East and North Africa, Asia, and the Pacific region. So these regional consultations, social movements, NGOs, and scholars close to IPC and all the actors that I have mentioned earlier will be part of such consultations. The final phase, the outcomes of the consultation process will be presented in a global Nyeleni forum to be held in 2025 in India, in which hundreds of delegates from all over the world will discuss strategies and solutions for more just and ecological food systems, and will relaunch a global alliance capable of counteracting the forces that are pushing the world into a deeper multi-dimensional crisis. We hope the Nyeleni Forum will re-energize and strengthen the food sovereignty movement, foster solidarity, create momentum to make the voices of the grassroots organizations and to give common direction to the social movements for the years to come. But the end of this process is not the forum, but rather the implementation of the decisions and guidelines taken throughout the process. So just before concluding, I wanted to highlight some key elements in one or 2 minutes, which to share why the process, why the final gathering and convergence will be taking place in India. So this is because of the very recent farmers' struggle that had held in India amidst the pandemic situation, as you might have already known that from 2020 September, the big majority ruling government led by Narendra Modi passed 3 farm bills, and the farmers in India under the Samyukta Kisan Morcha SKM, which is an umbrella organization of 32 farmer unions in India, had made a very big manifestation and struggle and paved a historical victory against the government decision and made the government to repeal the act that was really a very big threat for the farming community in India. So it was a struggle of 15 months, actually, thousands and thousands of people in different parts of India and also in the capital city gathered when even there was the blockade during the COVID pandemic, and more than 800 farmers were dead during this historical struggle against the decision of the government which actually made the situation very much grave in that circumstance. And as you know that the 2021 Indian farmers protest was a protest against these farm bills, which were we as farmers in India called anti-farmers laws for farmers. The protest actually proclaimed that the farmers in India do not want to live on the mercy of corporates and demanded the creation of a minimum support price bill to ensure that corporate cannot control the prices. So despite India being largely self-sufficient in food grain production and having welfare schemes, hunger and malnutrition remains serious issues. So the government procurement programs, especially by the central government and state government, ensuring the minimum support price for the farming community was key. That actually makes 60% of the Indian farmers are still engaged in farming. It's because of the passion that they are not getting anything for profit or to make some money. But most of the people are doing farming as a passion and compassion. And that's why the farmers were struggling in the street for 15 months. And with this historical struggle, it was proven that if farmers are united, nobody can defeat the farming community. So if such a majority government can repeal the decision, anything can happen if farmers are united. We have to unite in the different regions of the world, and we have to unite globally against the decisions that are in favor of the corporate captures and also the big corporations. And we actually have to make policies that support the farming community. So we wanted to highlight the importance of this struggle of the farming community and the historical victory that has been gained by Indian farmers very recently. That's why after the consultation at different levels in regions and at global levels, IPC has decided in the meeting in Rome that the final forum will take place in India, and it will be a boost for Indian farmers and also all the farmers in the world, like it was where our friend became a martyr, and farmers were martyrs. Very much for listening to.
Thank you so much, George, for this important overview of the values grounding our work in the Nyeleni process, the major threads of our process in our past meetings and upcoming meetings, as well as the inspiring story and examples set by the Indian farmers and our future plans to hold the next forum in that context. So we're a bit behind in schedule, so we're going to move along now, and we have just a couple of minutes for any burning questions from the floor, from all of you all, on the Nyeleni process or what has been presented so far. I'll just note that we're going to have a breakout session after this very quick Q&A where we'll have a space for discussion. So this is really just a moment to pause if there are any lack of clarity on the general topics or orientation of the Nyeleni process so far. So I will open the floor now. If you could please use the raise hand function, which is at the bottom of your screen under reactions, so I can know that you'd like to take the floor. That would be great. And maybe just to break the ice and kick us off, I'll turn it over to Sara for a quick intervention. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you so much, Jordan and everyone here. Oh, I'll go into my English channel. Just briefly wanted to share just how lucky we feel as Grassroots International to be invited in as an ally, to be able to support this process and to be in this dialogue with all of you, to see and learn from how movements are coordinating among themselves as they describe this multi-sectoral governance process across geographies, across sectors, each bringing their particular strengths and approaches, and all having shared values and political alignment, grounded at the local level, literally with hundreds of millions of people around the world that these movements organize, and clear on the strategic imperative of converging internationally it's such an amazing gift. And Paula talked about how the IPC is reaching out and including even more sectors and movements into its process, just reflecting on how much wisdom and skill, vision, commitment, power, and courage is coming together through the IPC. Like Perla shared, not only is food our medicine, but this movement convergence is our collective medicine. And similar to what George shared, anything can happen if movements are united. So we are clear that this space for movement convergence is really what it will take for us to find healing and well-being as human beings with the earth. And just want to share gratitude to everyone who is part of the IPC, who's been building this process since the first Nyeleni Forum in 2007 until now, for giving us an opportunity, inviting us in to be able to support this work, to fund this work is an honor. And we know that much more is needed in order to be able to accomplish the full vision, including the needs around staffing, operations, convenings. And we're really looking forward to being able to take up this work of organizing in the sector with other funder allies that are here and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This work is obviously not possible without the support of funders like Grassroots International and others. So thank you so much for highlighting that. Cecilia, I see a question from you. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Han. Thank you so much for inviting me to this meeting. My name is Cecilia Allen. I work at Gaia. It's a global alliance of over 1,000 organizations from 90 countries. And we work on climate justice. We work promoting zero waste solutions, and our membership are basically mostly grassroots organizations who are working from a systemic perspective, bringing systems change into how we make, produce, consume, discard materials and products. So we are working, we have many of our members are working, promoting zero waste solutions in their municipalities, in their communities at national, state, and national level. And we are increasingly opening to, build solidarity and work across movements with the climate movements. With especially, we're looking very much forward to working more with the agroecological sector, with the farmer sector, because we work on food waste prevention, we work on organic waste prevention and treatment, and believe that the solutions that we promote, that we embed, are built on social justice and environmental justice. So all of this that I have been hearing resonate a lot, and I'm very happy to be connecting with all of you. So my question now, after the introduction, the brief introduction, and I'm based in Argentina, I didn't mention that. My question is about the regional consultation process. If you are thinking, how would that look like? Is it going to be online meetings? Are you thinking of in-person meetings? I'm thinking because we have many members who are working very much in the intersection of waste and food production and food sovereignty. So I can think of so many groups that would love to be part of these consultations. So I'm trying to figure out how that work. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Cecilia, for this question and for being here. I'm glad to see that you are hearing so much alignment amongst your work and the work of the Nyeleni. I'm going to perhaps see if Paola would like to answer your question, but also to say that we have some time within the next breakout session to discuss this topic a bit more in terms of the process and the role that funders play in this process. So maybe Paola, if you could very quickly respond. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Cecilia, for your question. First of all, I'd like to recommend all of you to download the booklet that was posted in the chat box. Here you have more information also regarding the process and timelines and so on. But of course, this is not an answer that has only one answer, because each region will develop their process according to their own realities. So we have budgeted definitely to have in-presence meetings, but it will depend from region to region how they will organize. No, here in Europe, for example, we'll have a first meeting now in the beginning of June, and each region will self-organize its process. So since you are based in Argentina, maybe reaching out to the Latin American organizations would be the most recommendable, no, to see, how can you engage there.
Thank you, Paula, for this concise response. So I'm going to move us along in the agenda here to our breakout session, and we're a bit behind schedule because there's a lot to discuss, obviously. So we're going to have about 10 minutes or so in breakout rooms. So I think we're shooting for about 5 breakout spaces, and you'll have one of the IPC leaders in each space to go into these matters a bit more deeply, and specifically to talk about the question of what role should funders play in the Nyeleni process, and what is needed for this role to be realized. And this will be dropped in the chat in different languages, as you see there. So this is what we're trying to stimulate the discussion around. Again, we'll have 10 minutes, so we have a quick amount of time, so please keep your interventions short, and then we'll come back all together at the end to conclude. So unless I see an indication from the IPC Secretariat that I'm forgetting something, I think that the IPC Secretariat will go ahead and send us off to our different breakout rooms. So look forward to seeing some of you all there. Thank you.
So is there anyone who wants to take the floor first, break the ice?
I can break the ice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just basically just to break the ice, I just want to appreciate getting to be here. My name is Lydia Seamus, and from Grassroots International, and I know as an organization we've been accompanying this process, but this is an opportunity for me personally to learn more because I haven't been as involved as some of my other colleagues. And in terms of the role of funders, stating the obvious, I think the most important thing is to move resources to the movements leading this process, to make sure that that in a way that's in alignment with the priorities of the movement, that that the financial resources are there to be able to develop and move forward the process.
Thanks so much, Lydia. Thank you very much for sharing this. And you can take the floor, Saul. There's no need to wait for somebody.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias a Pascal y un saludo a todas y todos. Creo que tenemos poco tiempo, pero es importante señalar que nos gustaría comentar que en esta pregunta de cuál es el papel de podrían jugar los donantes, yo creo que en primer lugar debería ser el que estén dispuestos o comparten las preocupaciones de los movimientos sociales y de los pueblos indígenas, tal como de alguna forma se explicó, se trató de explicar muy rápidamente en los propósitos del proceso de Nyeleni.
In the Nyeleni proposals, we tried to make the point that we participate in the IPC and the Committee for international food sovereignty planning. We also participate in other processes. We recently participated in the COP, a post-2020 COP on biodiversity. We've been in some negotiations on food sovereignty in the FAO, strategies for guidelines on food systems, etc. We've also been involved in the process to have a binding human rights clause. It's been very important for us to see how the strategies from the UN or some people behind the UN, the strategies are the same. There's a weakening of human rights. There's a heightened role given to technological progress during crisis or as a response to crises, and a sidelining of stakeholders. It seems the same things are being proposed in all the fora we're in. But we've realized that all of the issues, biodiversity and climate change, many of these issues are interrelated. Water, biodiversity, soil degradation, food, etc. They are interrelated. So Nyeleni should come from the perspective of food sovereignty. How do we then face all of the challenges that we are seeing? If the funders share those concerns, then I think that's an important step forward. Because, as Lydia said, in that case, they can provide funds in order for this meeting to happen in Nyeleni. At the same time, they may share our concerns, so they will feel that the donated funds have a purpose that they share with the social movements and indigenous peoples. Another important element is that they can accompany the process, not just with funding, also with their knowledge and expertise. Other speakers have said they are linked to other processes as well. So they have experience from other processes, and they can share knowledge with ours. Lastly, funders organizations can also propose other alliances with other groups of funders in order to disseminate the Nyeleni process and strengthen what's happening in Latin America, Africa, Pacific, Europe, etc. So those are the 3 points that I wanted to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saul. I don't know if there's anyone else who wants to elaborate on what Saul said. Keeping in mind that the breakout rooms will close soon, but maybe somebody has any thoughts in mind or wants to elaborate on what Saul said, particularly on the point on accompanying the process and only contributing financial resources. I think this would be interesting to know your perspective. So if you want to take the floor, please feel free. Yes, Joanna. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out this in the phone. I don't want to, if there is other person that is not for grassroots that have a question, that will be great to hear now. I want to give the space to other people. Oh yeah, first maybe. And then if there is space, I can say a comment, but great. I will prefer other people to have the opportunity.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Ana Carolina. I can go very, very fast. I think I share with Lydia said in the beginning, I work at SweatBio. It's a development program, like an independent one at Stockholm Resilience Center. We are supported by the Swedish government, and we work in 2 different pathways, supporting collaboration regionally and also nationally, but also in policy process. I think it's more of, from the perspective of a funder here, is to hear and listen and support what is wished in their work and the main goal. I think it was very nice to hear like kind of guidance from Saul as well, not only funding, but going on collaboration, partnership in what is needed to the process to take place and onwards and continue the process. So coming from 2027 and then going and okay, 2025, but then afterwards as well. So it's a bit of reflecting on that I would like to bring on.
Thanks so much, Anna. So the floor is open for you to comment. So please, Giovanna, if you want to speak, and then anyone else.
Yeah, I just was thinking, I'm gonna speak in English, but the language of my heart is Spanish. Thank you, gracias, Saul. Thank you for the points and all the people that have participated. In my mind, it's like we're here because we have a commitment with food sovereignty, and we have a commitment to support the rights of the indigenous people, peasants, Afro-descendant, on all the traditional communities and peoples. And we are supporting, we have partners around the world, and we're supporting their work. But I think that is very important. We support people to go to these global spaces. But I think that is very important that we show up to support the global spaces for movements, to strategize and to create their global agenda from the territory to the region to the global. So they have this space to have their agenda, and they can continue do other work that other people like to support, to participate in these global spaces. But it's critical for our partners and social movement to get together, to have that collective knowledge, to get that collective analysis, and to build that agenda that they dream and all of us want to move forward. So I think that sometimes we need to ground and put our effort and commitment in these important spaces that are going to advance all of this individual or national or territory agenda. And we're going to have the power because the other side, the opposite, the global forces, they have the resources, they have the space, they have all of these big agendas that they're moving forward. So we need to put the resources in the transformative agenda so we have this global people's power to confront these forces. So that was what I want to say.
Thanks so much, Giovanna. So I've just been informed that the time is up for the breakout rooms. So thanks so much for all your contributions and comments. But now I'll bring you all back to the main room.
As everyone filters back into our main room here, we have just a couple of moments left together. So want to hope that had a few minutes there to unpack and digest a very big question with obviously many answers, and hopefully we were able to take a few notes by the IPC members within your breakout group that we can all pull together at the end after this call. But thank you for engaging in this conversation. Folks are just coming back into the room now. We'll give it one moment. Okay, I think most of us are here. So let's just use these last closing moments to thank you again for participating in these breakout rooms and engaging just the tip of the iceberg of these big questions about the roles of funders in supporting the Nyeleni process. This is obviously an ongoing conversation, and we will work on collecting the notes from those breakout sessions and pulling them together to guide our process forward. So thanks for those contributions. We just have a couple of minutes left here with you all. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Paula for our few minutes of closing.
Yes. Hello again, everyone. I hope you had inspireful and enrichful discussions in the breakout room. For sure, it was very short, but it was only one opportunity, for this discussion. For me, and I believe also for my colleagues, it is really great to see so many faces, as I said, faces we have already been seeing accompanying us over the past years, but also a lot of new faces, also curious to see which role they can play, how can they play, and so on. So it's really exciting for us, to have all of you with us today in this virtual room. Hopefully soon also in presence, being it in our regions or in international spaces. As I said in the beginning, we really need your commitment, to make this process happen, and we need your concrete support. And this means concretely, we need also financial support for this, as you can imagine, this is a very long process, which has already started. Many years ago, actually, we kicked off these discussions in the IPC before COVID. But as you can imagine, COVID delayed our process, So it started already longer ago, and for sure it will last even after the furlough, because we will still have things to implement, let's say, And we have developed, maybe this is a question of some of you regarding our budget. We have developed a process, a budget for the entire process, which is currently budgeted with 1 million euros. And this is here included. This includes the regional preparations. This includes funds for salaries of the IPC Secretariat, the Global Secretariat, but also regional secretariats. This includes funds for preparatory meetings, for travels, for materials, for translation, interpretation, and for several other budget lines. So we need your support again, and don't worry, we don't need any concrete commitments right now. You have enough time to check your pots, first, and we are going to follow up with each of you later on. The Secretariat will follow up, and it would be for us, it would be key for the success of this process to get flexible funds and multiple year funds, because those are kind of preconditions for us to implement the things that the process will show us which are necessary. I would like to reiterate our gratitude for the ones who have already been supporting us, and also to reiterate that we need more of you supporting this process. And I honestly invite each of you to take this opportunity, as Sarah said, to be part of this process of change together with us in the IPC and the other movements we are inviting to be part of this as well. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Paula. And I'll just reiterate and underline again our thankfulness for all the support we've gotten to get us to this point. A lot of work has been done. There's a lot of work still to go, and this is a multi-year process organizing a global movement like none other. So we look forward to continuing to co-shape this work with you all going forward, and appreciate your time here today. Special thanks to our interpreters for spending this hour with us, and also spending a few minutes over our timeline. There are plenty of questions that I'm sure you all have, hopefully have sparked from this conversation. I've just dropped in the chat the email address for the IPC Secretariat, where is one place you can go for immediate questions on next steps, but also, of course, feel free to reach out to anyone with the IPC on this call, and we'll make sure your answers or your questions are answered with the appropriate parties. So looking forward to seeing you all in this space again as we move this forward and in person in the near future. So thank you again and have a good day. I think we have a word cloud that's going to be shared by the IPC Secretariat Communication staff as we close. Thank you all.